We have too many kids growing up in single-parent households.
It's the guns!
I was raised in that house. I was just fine. Look at that. It's bullcrap. Hey, you started to sit down.
I am a single mother, and that was so disrespectful.
If you don't like America,
Shame on you.
Woo! That was Arkansas Congressman Steve Womack in a town hall back in 2019. But he really managed to infuriate, well, like everybody at this town hall when he was asked about the reasons for mass shootings and blamed single-parent households. You know, Womack has been trying to spin his image for the last 2 years as a moderate Republican from Arkansas's 3rd District. And he's been pushing back against his own party, and he's an independent voice. But the truth is, you know, he's a long, long time incumbent with 13 years in office. He's been sitting in a comfortable seat who doesn't really even respect his own people at this point. He's won handily his re-elections every cycle for those 13 years. But this year he faced a tough primary and a changing district, making him a little bit more vulnerable than he's ever been before. And now he has a Democratic opponent named Caitlin Draper, who works with regular Arkansans every day as a social worker and had a recent personal and honestly painful experience with the hottest issue of our time, women's reproductive rights. So I've been eager to get her in the hot seat when I heard her story, and she's here now. So I am Fred Wellman, host of On Democracy with FP Wellman, right here in the MeidasTouch Network, and this is In the Hot Seat with Caitlin Draper. Caitlin, oh my God, it's so great to have you here. Welcome to the MeidasTouch Network. Welcome to In the Hot Seat with FP Wellman. I am so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, Fred. I appreciate it and love your work.
Oh, I'm touched. I appreciate it. So, look, you're going up an entrenched incumbent whose last opponent really struggled to even raise $50,000, I think, or $44,000. You put up a good fight. You're a professional social worker. You a family. You're building a family. Why take on the challenge of running for Congress?
Great question. I have a lot of people in my life that ask me that question too.
I bet.
So I decided to run for office because as a clinical social worker, I see people in my office suffering every single day. And I can help therapeutically. I can give you tools to learn to cope. We can work through your trauma. But a lot of the things that are causing folks suicidal ideations, that are causing folks depression, anxiety, are these issues that are completely preventable and largely because of the oppressive policies put forth by our leadership. So when you look at social work as a career, one of our core values is social justice. It's enshrined in our code of ethics. And I thought, well, you know, what is, to me, the ultimate social justice work is running for office, is working to change the policy. So that is the first reason I'm running for office. Of course, I was also very activated when Roe was overturned and the Dobbs decision was leaked. I have been going through IVF with my husband. We have been trying for about 4 years to get pregnant, started IVF about 1.5 years ago. And this past March, I had a successful embryo transfer, which was incredible. I was so happy. And, you know, a few weeks in, my doctor told me that my blood levels weren't looking good. My HCG level was not indicative of a viable pregnancy. So as I'm asking my nurse, well, what do I need to look for? What are the things we need to be concerned about? And before they had confirmed that it was non-viable, she said, well, this could be an ectopic pregnancy. So ectopic pregnancy is when the embryo does not implant inside the uterus, it implants elsewhere. And it is almost always life-threatening to the mother. Wow. My physician's not here in the state. There are a lot of access to healthcare issues, which we can get into. But she travels here. And I told her, well, hey, you know, Arkansas's got a trigger law. And I'm not sure if I go to the ER that I'll be safe. And I love my doctor. She's phenomenal. But her answer was, well, we think you should be okay. And that's not enough for me. That's not enough for my life. You know, I have family that love me. You know, I don't really want to die right now, you know? And that really brought it home for me and really reinvigorated my passion for this seat.
Yeah, and it gives you a unique perspective on this issue. I think for me, and I caught your story. It's why I called you. You know, and for me, I think I think for a lot of Americans, for most Americans, of course, as a man, the reproductive rights issue for women and access to reproductive health care, abortion, it's a theory, right? Let's be honest. It's in a lot of ways, it's in theory for most of us. We haven't experienced it as men or our loved ones. Many of our loved ones haven't. Many have. But for you, of course, that made that issue real. You know, Dobbs, I think we're on the anniversary, of matter of fact, of the Dobbs decision leaking. You know, it's very real for you. And what is that? What is that recent experience? What has that taught you? I mean, it tells you very directly how bad this is, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It A tells me how bad this is. I think we frame it, or let's kind of back up. I think Republicans frame it as an
Yeah.
abortion issue because being it's the whole reason that they've reversed this decision is for power, right? And we know that it's not just about abortion. This impacts women that are trying desperately to get pregnant, like myself. It impacts people who it impacts everybody with a uterus, right? It's and their families. It's just it is really a power grab. B, the second thing that kind of made it brought home to me was the fact that this is really disproportionately going to affect people of color, people who do not have access to resources. I could leave the state if I needed to. I have a great partner. Um, I've got healthcare insurance. I have a little bit of money in my savings account, enough to buy a plane ticket if I had to. And the reality for women and people with a uterus in my district is that that's not the reality for most people. Um, how are people going to leave if they need health care? I can, but there are so many people that can't. So I would have preferred to miscarry in peace. However, the current circumstances in our kind of geopolitical landscape does not allow me to do that. I have to speak up for the women and people that cannot leave if they need to.
Yeah, and that's it with Arkansas now, and of course Florida's outlawed it. It leaves Southern Illinois, Kansas. I mean, you're right. The people of privilege can, but the people I imagine you run into in your social work probably can't. And that's the real factor that shocks a lot of us, I think. You know, I live in a red state myself. I'm up in Missouri, as you know. I know that we face unique challenges these days as Democrats, right? But it feels like for me, and coming in this conversation we just had about Dobbs, is there is a lot more energy this cycle for Democrats, even here in Missouri and hopefully in Arkansas. You know, many are seeing how much the Republican extremists have overreached with Dobbs and other things, the culture wars in our schools. Are you seeing that in Arkansas as well? Are you seeing some energy, more energy than you've seen in the past?
Absolutely. We're activated. There
Yeah,
are so many more people voting, protesting, showing up, donating than there have ever been in Arkansas. In fact, Arkansas Democrats are running more candidates than we have in the past 12 years.
wow.
Um, statewide, that includes kind of state and federal races,
Yeah.
but we're showing up. I think the power belongs to the people, and the people will always regain their power. So whereas Republicans' extremist grabs are impacting my people, my clients, my friends and family, my district, the people will always speak up. And we're activated here in Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact last cycle I'm involved in an organization called Forgotten Dems. I think two of your congressional seats went uncontested, and the two others were, as I mentioned, with your seat you're running for was underfunded, so they couldn't take on a race. And I know it's exciting to see that all four races are now contested, and good folks like you are stepping forward. But yeah, you do see that energizing a movement and the frustration with the culture wars. You know, you're a social worker. You know, you live in the community. You work with, you see firsthand what people every day are facing in their lives, from the forgotten citizens who are trying to survive, rising food and housing
Mhm.
insecurity costs, daily living expenses going up. Like all of his fellow Republicans, Steve Womack has voted in check. He voted against the Inflation Reduction Act, for example, and others. I was just wondering, have you seen in your life as a social worker, how is that driving what will be your policies and what do you want to accomplish in Congress, knowing the truth of what's happening to average Americans?
One thing I always think about is it should not matter where you live in this country. You should have access to healthcare. You should have food. You should be able to attend school and feel safe. It shouldn't just be that women in Kansas or Illinois feel, in our Midwest area, those are the closest places you can
Yeah,
access healthcare. It shouldn't be just that. So
yeah,
when I think about the policies that I want to enact and, what will guide my votes, it's always people first.
yeah,
What do the people need? And right now, what I'm seeing in my practice is people are going hungry. we had to open up a food pantry in my office because there were so many people coming in. And think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What are the basic needs a person has, right? Food, shelter, water, air. Um, and if a client comes in and they're hungry, they cannot focus on feeling better or getting better in their life. So um, I want to make sure that legislation is focused on getting people what they need, getting their basic needs met. And there are so many basic needs that are being neglected by our incumbent congressperson.
Yeah, it sounds like, and it's heartbreaking, and you actually are hearing these stories because you're in the community more, and that's, and I do think we do need to see a lot more folks from regular life going there. I think Steve Womack's, what, 13 years or more in Congress, and before that he was the mayor. I mean, it's just, he's not of the average folks anymore, is he? So, I think the most important thing is, you've got a plan, and you've got a unique story. I'm excited for you, and it sounds like you have the right plan going together. So the most important question I asked in every candidate near the end of this conversation is the one that matters the Midas Mighty. How can they find you? How can they help? As I mentioned, his last opponent wasn't able to raise the funds nationally, but you guys are hitting it hard this time, and you're out there and you're here. So tell us, how can our folks find you? How can they help you?
We are hitting it hard. And one of my missions is to make sure that people nationally understand that Arkansas is worth investment. I think nationally, as Democrats or people that tend to vote more liberally, we think the South is a lost cause. It's not. So what I will ask for is your investment in this campaign. Donations obviously are what keep us going. We are working so hard to make sure that we run a real campaign, that we've got advertisement, that we can match Womack bit for bit, and of course out organize him. That's the goal. So that's the first thing I would say. And you can find us on Act Blue. You can also donate through our website, which is Caitlin for Arkansas, CAITLIN, and then for spelled out FOR, Arkansas.com.
Great.
We're on Instagram at Caitlin for Arkansas, Facebook, Caitlin for Arkansas, and Twitter, I think we're Caitlin for ARC.
I love it. We'll hunt you down. Look, it was wonderful talking to you. I heard your story. I had to meet you. I'm thrilled. I appreciate you taking your time. Look, running for office ain't easy. You're a first-time candidate. I wish you the best of luck, and keep your chin up and keep fighting. It's worth the cause. So thank you so much for joining us, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Fred. I appreciate it.
Fascinating conversation. Caitlin's a first-time candidate, and when I heard her story in the news about her IVF experience and the fact she would need to have a possible abortion, depending on how long it went, I really wanted to talk to her. So many of us talk about the reproductive rights issue, but it's very rare to have an actual candidate running for Congress and experience that issue in real time and face how difficult it can be. So I wish her the best of luck. Caitlin's a lovely lady. She's a social worker. I hope you'll check her out. We're presenting, as always, many of these conversations. I hope you checked out the others. I really enjoy them. The candidates have been thrilled to hear from all of you. You've been great. As always, I am the host of On Democracy. We post new episodes of the show every Friday night at 11 right here on the MeidasTouch Network. I can't wait to see you again.